Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The stars stretched endlessly in every direction, cold, indifferent, and full of untapped mystery. Alice stood on the bridge of her father's starship, the celestial dawn, her fingers tracing the worn control. The ship was a relic by modern standards, but it held a history no other vessel could match. Her father had piloted this very ship into the farthest reaches of space, charting routes that no other navigator dared to attempt, and now it was her. She inhaled deeply, her eyes narrowing at the shimmering expanse before her. This wasn't just about following in her father's footsteps. No, it's about something more. She had made a promise to complete what her father had started, finding the legendary heart of the universe. But the galaxy was vast, and her father, see its final star chart, left unfinished, was a testament to how difficult the journey would be. "We are entering the Alpheran Nebula, Captain," a calm metallic voice echoed from behind her. Alice turned to face Alpha, her robotic companion, standing tall with a sleek metallic frame and a face that was both expressionless and somehow full of life. Alpha had been with her since childhood. He had been her father's closest ally, a constant presence that was both mentor and protector. Now he served as her co-pilot, technical advisor, and sometimes her conscience. "The nebula is known for its temporal anomalies," Alpha continued, his voice steady as ever. "Shifts in time can occur unpredictably, affecting both perception and reality. However, our shields should protect us for the duration of our journey through it." "Good to know," Alice replied, taking her seat in the captaincy chair. The celestial dawn hummed beneath her, a reassuring vibration that signaled the ship's readiness for the challenges ahead. Next to her, Zane shifted uncomfortably. The alien was unlike any species she'd encountered before, a lean, silver-skinned creature with large, iridescent eyes that seemed to see beyond the present moment. As Zane's kind, the Zornai were known for their abilities to manipulate energy and sense danger, though his full abilities remained a mystery, even to Alice. "The nebula feels strange," Zane murmured, his eyes narrowing as he gazed out into the swirling mists of the Alpheran Nebula. "Time is unsettled here. Be cautious." "I trust your instincts," Alice said, though her own unease prickled beneath her calm exterior. She had faced many dangers in her short time as captain, but the Alpheran Nebula was something else entirely. Its reputation alone was enough to send chills down the spine of even the most seasoned navigator. As they plunged deeper into the nebula, the stars outside the viewport began to distort, stretching and twisting in ways that defied logic. Alice felt her perception of time shift. What felt like seconds seemed to drag into minutes, then snap back in the blink of an eye. It was disorienting, but she kept her focus on the control. "We were close to the coordinates," Alpha said, his voice cutting through the strange haze of time dilation. "The temporal anomalies are increasing in intensity. We must proceed with caution." Alice's grip tightened on the controls. The star chart her father had left behind indicated that there was something hidden within this nebula, something vital to their quest for the heart of the universe. She wasn't about to turn back now. Suddenly, the ship lurched violently to one side, alarms blaring as the hull groaned under the strain. Alice's heart raced as she fought to steady the ship, her fingers flying over the controls. "What the hell was that?" "Temporal distortion wave," Alpha reported, his voice remaining calm despite the chaos around them. "It sent disrupting our navigation systems. I am recalibrating." Zane let out a low hiss, his eyes glowing faintly as he placed a hand on the console. "We were not alone. Something watches us." Before Alice could respond, the nebula parted, revealing a massive structure floating in the void. It was ancient, its surface pockmarked and corroded, but unmistakably a construct of advanced design. It looked like a derelict space station, forgotten by time and left to drift in the swirling midst of the nebula. "That's not on any chart," Alice muttered, her eyes widening in disbelief. "What is that?" Alpha scanned the structure, his eyes glowing faintly as data streamed across his internal system. "It appears to be a space station of unknown origin. There are no life signs aboard, but the structure is still powered." "We redocking," Alice decided, steering the celestial dawn toward the station. If my father's sat chart led us here, there's some reason for it. The docking procedure was tense, the ship barely managing to stabilize itself within the station, Sunspec. Once they were secure, Alice led the way to the airlock, her pulse quickening with every step. Alpha followed closely, his sensors scanning for any signs of danger, while Zane moved with an otherworldly grace, his senses on high alert. As the airlock hissed open, a cold gust of air greeted them. The interior of the station bathed in a dim, flickering light. The architecture was unlike anything Alice had ever seen, alien, yet familiar in some strange, inexplicable way. The walls were covered in intricate carving symbols that seemed to shift and change as she looked at them. "This place is ancient, Zane," whispered his voice tinged with awe. "Older than any civilization I've yet known." They moved cautiously through the corridors, the silence oppressive and unnerving. Every step echoed through the hollow station. The only sounds, their breathing and the faint hum of machinery in the distance. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, thin being with luminous eyes and a body covered in intricate robe. It moved with an eerie grace, its movements fluid and almost ethereal. "Welcome, travelers," the being said, its voice soft but resonant. "You have come far, but your journey is only just beginning." Alice's hand instinctively went to the blaster at her side, but she didn't draw it. "Who are you?" "I am Carol, one of the last of the Assyrians," the being replied, its gaze settling on her with an intensity that made her shiver. "We once sought the heart of the universe as you do now, but be warned, the heart is not a prize to be claimed. It is a force of nature, a power beyond comprehension." Alice's heart raced as she processed the words. "You've seen it, the heart." Kitchell nodded slowly. "We came close, but we were not worthy. The heart tests all who seek it, and few survive its trial. But there is another who seeks it now, one who will stop at nothing to claim its power for himself." "Lord Victor," Alice muttered, her eyes narrowing. She had heard rumors of the warlord, a ruthless tyrant who had been expanding his empire across the galaxy. If he was after the heart, the stakes were higher than she had imagined. Kanael's expression darkened. "He believes the heart will grant him control over space and time, allowing him to reshape the galaxy to his will. But he does not understand the cost." Alice exchanged a glance with Alpha, her mind racing. They had to find the heart before Venkater did, but the risks were becoming clearer by the moment. "We'll stop him," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of the mission ahead. "We have to." Alice's resolve hardened. Carol's warning echoed in her mind, but she couldn't allow Victor to get his hands on the heart of the universe. The thought of someone so ruthless wielding that kind of power sent a shiver down her spine. There was no time to waste. "Do you know where the heart is?" she asked Carol, her voice sharp with urgency. Kyle's luminous eyes flickered as if weighing her question. "The final piece of the star chart you seek lies in Vector Sash, and without it, you cannot hope to find the heart's location." Alice's jaw tightened. Of course it wouldn't be that easy. "Then we'll have to take it from him." Alpha stepped forward, his mechanical gaze steady. "Our chances of success against Vector's fleet are statistically low, Captain. However, I believe with precise planning and timing, it may be possible to infiltrate his stronghold." Zane nodded, his eyes flashing with an intense determination. "I can sense when he's near. His presence is like a storm, a shadow that lingers in the ether." Alice glanced at her companions, Alpha fast, cold logic, Zane Smike's mystical insight, and now Carol's knowledge of the ancient powers they faced. It would take all of them to see this mission through. Failure wasn't an option. The galaxy itself might depend on it. Carol's robes shifted as he extended a hand, revealing an ancient device embedded in the wall nearby. "This station holds a secret that may give you the edge you need. My people built this technology long ago to navigate the anomalies of the cosmos, but we could never unlock its full potential." Alice stepped forward, intrigued. The device was large with unfamiliar symbols etched into its surface, pulsing with a faint, otherworldly glow. It was like nothing she'd seen before, yet something about it felt familiar. "What is it?" "A star map beyond any you've encountered. It shows not just space, but time itself," Carol explained. "It can predict the movements of cosmic forces, including Vikater's fleet. With it, you may find a way to evade him or to strike when he least expects it." Alpha's optical sensors whirred softly as he examined the device. "This technology could give us a significant tactical advantage. It may allow us to intercept Vikater before he reaches the heart." Alice's mind raced. If they could outmaneuver Vexter, they might have a chance. She nodded at Alpha. "Can you integrate it with our system?" "I can attempt it, Captain, though. The technology is ancient. Its principles appear compatible with our ship and its navigation system." Zane's gaze never left the device. "Be cautious. This power is not meant to be wielded lightly. Time is fluid here. Tampering with it could have consequences. We don't have much of a choice, Alice replied, her tone resolute. We use whatever advantage we can get. Alpha connected to the ancient device, and the lights on the celestial dawn flickered briefly as the star map came online. On the central display, a complex web of star systems unfolded before them, shifting and warping with the currents of time itself. It was overwhelming at first, an endless sea of possibilities, paths crisscrossing through space and time, but then Alice saw it, the route that would take them to Vekatana's stronghold. There, she said, pointing at the screen. That's where we'll find him. Kyle's gaze was unreadable, but there was a weight to his words as he spoke. Remember, Captain, the heart is not just a destination. It is a force, a will. If you seek it, you must be prepared to face its test. Alice took a deep breath, the enormity of the task settling on her shoulder. But there was no turning back now. She had made a promise to herself, to her father, and to the galaxy. Let us go, she said, her voice firm. We have a warlord to stop. The journey to Vekatara's stronghold was fraught with tension. The celestial dawn moved swiftly through space, guided by the ancient star map's prediction. As they neared Vekatara's domain, the dark clouds of the nebula began to part, revealing a massive fleet of warships orbiting a shadowy planet below. There's his fleet, Zane whispered, his eyes narrowing. He sat waiting. Alpha's voice cut through the tension. I've detected a gap in their defensive perimeter. It appears to be a deliberate opening, likely a trap. Alice's pulse quickens. Vekator knew they were coming, but that didn't matter. They were already committed. We'll spring his trap then, but on our term. As the celestial dawn slipped into the gap, the ship's cloaking system hummed to light. They drifted silently through the enemy, ranks invisible to the naked eye. Alice's hands tightened on the controls, every muscle in her body coiled with anticipation. Then, without warning, the ship jolted violently as an energy blast struck the hull. Alarms blared and the cloaking system flickered. They've spotted us, Alpha announced quickly, rerouting power to the shield. The comm crackled to life and a deep, menacing voice filled the bridge. Captain Alice, how predictable did you really think you could sneak past me? It was a Vico. Alice's heart pounded as she grabbed the comm Victor. You know what you were dealing with. The heart isn't you, something you can control. A dark, humorless laugh echoed through the speakers. Control you misunderstand, Captain. The heart is power, and power belongs to those strong enough to seize it. As his words echoed through the ship, the enemy fleet began to close in, surrounding the celestial dawn on all sides. Alice gritted her teeth, her mind racing for a plan. Alpha, initiate evasive maneuvers. Zane prepared to board Vektor's flagship. Zane gave a curt nod, his eyes glowing with anticipation. Ivan waited for this moment. As the celestial dawn twisted and turned, dodging enemy fire, Alice brought the ship in close to Vektor's flagship. A boarding hatch extended, and Zane leapt across the gap, landing with feline grace on the enemy vessel. Alpha followed, his mechanical limbs moving with precision as they infiltrated the ship. Inside, the corridors were dark and foreboding, filled with the distant hum of machinery. Zane led the way, his senses attuned to the presence of their enemy. They moved silently, slipping past guards and automated defenses until they reached the heart of the ship, the command center. Vector stood at the center of the room, a towering figure clad in dark armor. His eyes gleamed with a cold, calculating malice as he turned to face them. You were too late, he said, his voice dripping with contempt. I've already unlocked the final piece of the star chart. The heart of the universe is within my grasp. Alice stepped forward, her blaster trained on him. You don't understand. The heart isn't tie a weapon, it's to lie. Vakator's smile was cruel, and I will bend it to my will. In an instant, the room erupted into chaos. Zane lunged forward, his energy blades crackling to life as he engaged Vektor in combat. Alpha moved swiftly, neutralizing the guards with precision shots, while Alice fired at Vektor's control console, disabling his ship, Sistas. The battle was fierce, but Vektor was no ordinary opponent. His strength was augmented by cybernetic enhancements, his movements swift and brutal. He fought with the ferocity of a man possessed, his eyes burning with the desire for ultimate power. Alice's heart raced as she watched Zane struggle against the warlord. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a battle for the fate of the galaxy. With a final surge of energy, Zane unleashed a devastating attack, his blade slicing through Vektor's defenses. The warlord staggered, his armor sparking as he fell to one knee. You cannot stop me, Vicator hissed, his voice filled with venom. Alice stepped forward, her blaster aimed at his chest. It sung over. Lecter's gaze flickered, and for a moment Alice saw something in his eyes, fear, perhaps, or the realization that he had failed. But then his lips curled into a defiant sneer. Even if you kill me, he rasped, the heart will test you and you will fail, just as I have. Alice's finger tightened on the trigger for a moment. Time seemed to stand still. Then with a single shot, Vicator collapsed to the floor, lifeless. The silence that followed was deafening. Zane wiped the blood from his blades, his expression grim. It's done. Alpha approached his sensors, scanning the room. The final piece of the star chart is ours. We can reach the heart. Alice exhaled, the weight of the mission finally catching up to her. They had won, but the hardest part still lay ahead. Without a word, she turned and headed back to the celestial dawn. The heart of the universe awaited them.